Appreciate it, guys. We are going to have an amazing class tonight. I'm really excited. We get to practice this. I'm going to tell you guys a little secret, okay? A little secret. Hi, Rosie. Thank you for being here. Rivka, thank you for being here. Mendel and Brachi, how you doing? So nice to have you here. We're going to just wait a couple more minutes. Adam L, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Lily, thank you for being here. I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes, guys. I'm actually excited to be doing this because I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Is Rivka Spiro, thank you for being here. Here's a secret. I'm actually in the midst, with Hashem's help, of a new movie that I'm producing called Jewish Money. And it's actually all about giving tzedakah and the secret of the power of giving tzedakah. Such a powerful thing, so powerful. There's nothing more powerful than I've seen in Judaism than giving charity. I'm going to talk all about it. We're going to give it one more minute over here. Sabby iPhone, thank you for joining. I'm going to start in 1 minute, guys. Maggie Suisa, thank you for joining. Mindy, thank you for joining. All right, let's get the party started. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special installment called, what do we call it in the end? Actually, we changed the title halfway, but what do we call it? We called it How to Become Rich by Giving Tzedakah. Listen, you have to have punchy titles in today's day and age to get the people. You know, there's so much competition out there. Let's get started. I want to tell you guys the power of giving charity. I want to tell you guys some personal stories that I've seen, and to show you where this is rooted in our beautiful Torah and how powerful of a concept this is. So, very quick story. The first time that I ever gave a sizable donation, for me at the time, I gave $500, and that was almost 10 years ago. And I remember that I had a friend who was in yeshiva. His name was, I actually don't want to mention his name. And he was in yeshiva. And I remember I wanted to go to yeshiva so badly, but it didn't seem like it was a possibility at the time because I was working in my family business, and it just wasn't a possibility to take a month or two or a year, whatever it was, to go to yeshiva. And I knew that my friend in yeshiva, he was struggling financially. His father had passed away, and he had no way of paying the tuition. And I didn't even think he had a shekel in his pocket. He was going to yeshiva in Israel. So one day, I call up Mayanut, which is a yeshiva in Jerusalem, and I randomly called the secretary. And I said to the secretary that I would like to donate $500, which for me at the time was a lot of money. $500 at any time for anybody is a lot of money. And it felt good. I'm not going to lie. It felt nice. You know, when you give tzedakah, people give you kavod. They give you respect when you give tzedakah, and it feels good because you're doing a mitzvah. And I remember that I felt that I had done a really good thing. Now my friend was going to have a few shekels in his pocket. I said, I want you to give it to this guy sitting in yeshiva. And okay, I didn't think too much about it. When I went upstairs to my desk the next day, because I gave it at the end of the day, when I went upstairs to my desk at the next day, I saw on my desk there was an envelope that had $700 cash inside the envelope. And it had my name on it. And I went downstairs to the controller, to the accountant of the company, and I said to him, what is this? What is the $700 doing on my desk? And he said, oh, we realized that we made a mistake on your paycheck. And we forgot last year, we underpaid you by $700. And I just remember like looking up to the man above and saying like, wow, that was so nice. Like I saw a direct correlation. I didn't think too much about it. It's not like I became a bald tzedakah after that, but I just found it was really cool that as soon as I gave, all of a sudden I got $700 cash I wasn't expecting. I want to welcome everybody new that just joined. We are giving a class. I'm giving a class on the power of charity, the power of tzedakah. I actually really never gave a Torah class before, so this is kind of cool. This is the first. So I didn't think too much about it. I went on with my life. Eventually, I ended up going to yeshiva, and myself, probably about a year later, I got the guts to pick up and go, and I ended up going to yeshiva. And my rabbi, my mashpia in yeshiva, his name is Rabbi Tauger, and he is the head translator of a organization called Sichas in English, which is an organization that translates the Rebbe's Sichas in English. And I remember he was talking about, and I was a big fan. By the way, whoever is not on mute, please put on mute. Mute all. There we go. There we go. So whoever, so he said to me that he was looking to build a website and he needed about $5,000. So I was in yeshiva. I had a minimal income. I had saved up to go to yeshiva. I'd saved up $20,000. It took me a couple of years to do it, but I saved up that amount of money. And that was like my little nest egg while I was in yeshiva, so I could sleep at night. And I knew that if I needed anything, it was there. I was paying my own tuition. And I remember I said to him, after I found out that he needed money to start this website, I remember saying to him, look, Rabbi, I want to give $5,000 because I believe in what it is that you do. I believe in your work. I don't need the money right now because I'm in yeshiva and I have a little bit, extra left over. And I would like to pay for the website. Actually, if you go to sichasinenglish.com, SIE.com, you'll still see at the bottom, sponsored by the Solomon family of Montreal. And I remember I was sweating as I made the donation, and the credit card swiped, and I was nervous. I had just given up 25% of my wealth. And I woke up the next day to an email, and the email had said that while I was gone, while I was out of town, one of my accounts in my family business had done a major deal. One of the other salesmen in my company, he took over the account, and it had made one of the biggest deals that it had ever made. And my commission from the deal was $25,000, which ended up being exactly 1/5 of the amount of money that I gave. And I was just blown away. And I was 2 for 2 at this point. I had my first story with the $700. Now I have the story with the $5,000. And I remember just being completely elated with the idea that, wow, I gave and I was rewarded. Again, I didn't think too much about it, right? I thought these were coincidences or, a nice pat on the back that Hashem was giving me, but I didn't really think too much about it. Fast forward, I come back from yeshiva, I ended up getting married, and I was working in my family business, and Levi Raskin every year would pledge me for how much he wanted me to give to Chabad of Côte St. Luc. And I remember, he asked me one year for 12, and then he asked me one year for 18,000, and it was a lot of money. $18,000 is a lot of money for anybody at any stage. But I had done successfully the 5, I had done successfully the 12, and then I decided, okay, he asked for $18,000, it's $1,500 a month. Mr. Trudeau gives you 50% back. on your taxes at the end of the year if you're paying personally. So I said, okay, I agreed to it. I ended up leaving my father's business a year after, and I go to open up my own company. And maybe some of you have heard the story, but it's worth repeating again. Rabbi Raskin and Levi Raskin come into my office in the first year of me doing business. And usually when they would come to see me, they were expecting to see, when they came to visit me in my father's office, I was a macher, had a fancy mahogany desk. I had my own office. I was a big shot. I was the president of his company. And here, that year, my first year in business, I was working in a free office that one of my dear friends gave to me for free. And it was a dumpy office. And I was sitting on these $10 chair from Walmart. And I had one of those folding white tables that every good religious family has in their house. And I had schlepped that in the winter, and I was working on my wife's laptop, and I was starting from scratch, and I was alone. I was managing a company, a 40-person company, and here I started from scratch of scratch. And I thought that this year, when Rabbi Raskin and did I lose you guys? I thought that this year, when Rabbi Levi Raskin, when they came to visit me, they were going to have a little compassion on me, because they knew that starting a business is difficult. So when they came into my office, they both were shocked at how they found me, that I was sitting, really like a schlepper. And they had seen me fall from a pretty high level. And I figured they were going to go easy on me this year. So instead of, when they told me how much they're going to ask me for, they said, look, this year we're not going to ask you for $18,000. And I breathed a sigh of relief. I'm not gonna lie. But the next words shocked me. They said, we're going to ask you for $36,000. We're going to ask you to pledge $36,000. Now, I want to just make sure that we're all talking the same language. When we say pledge, it doesn't mean you have to pay it out in one shot. It means that you are making a pledge, which is very close to a promise, bli neder, of course, but it's strong. A pledge is a serious thing, and you assign a date, you assign a time. So they were asking for a 12-month, if I could do it over the next 12 months. I remember I went into this absolute daze for a moment, where I was thinking to myself, first of all, what chutzpah? What chutzpah to ask somebody who's starting out fresh. And then but then I said to myself, you know what? I've done this before, and I'm actually in a really rough place right now because I'm starting from scratch. And I kind of needed a miracle. That's the truth. I really did. It wasn't a joke. I needed a miracle. It's very hard. It's very hard in business to start. It's like getting an airplane off of the runway. It's very, very difficult. And I needed a miracle. And I made a speech here the other day in synagogue that I cheated in business. And I continue to cheat in business with this thing called charity, because it's a major, and not just in business, by the way, just in livelihood. A person might say, well, it's very nice for Berel Solomon to do, he has a business, but what happens if a person doesn't have a business? So I remember that I made a what's it called here, a speech yesterday, that I cheat in business because I gave a big amount of tzedakah in my first year, and it's a hack. It's a shortcut. It's not, technically a person shouldn't have done that well. So I said, I came out of my trance, after, I had a moment with myself. And as I came out, you could ask Rabbi Raskin yourself, as I came out, a single tear came down my cheek. And I said one word, okay. I said, okay, you're asking for it. I need a miracle. I've seen miracles. I don't think that the rabbi is putting me in danger, especially since the rabbi represents this man over here, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I don't think that Hashem is going to punish me. Keep in mind, at this point, I didn't know the mechanics of tzedakah. I'm going to talk to you about that in a few minutes. Actually, where we could find sources for it in Torah, where we could actually find that this is a real thing. I mean, I was just going by my gut at this point. So I said yes. And I shook his hand and we said l'chaim. And it was very emotional. I'm getting emotional even right now thinking about it and talking about it. And don't get me wrong, I struggled that year, but I would write those checks and I would do my best, to write a $3,000 check a month. Some months was difficult and I couldn't. Some months, some months were good and I wrote a little bit more. And I remember, a few days before Rosh Hashanah, Levi Raskin comes to my office, and I had moved out of that old ugly office, and now I was actually I was in a nice, respectable place where I felt like a mensch, and I had a team, and I had a desk, and I had equipment, and I had, before I knew it, at the end of the 12 months, with Hashem's help, I had a whole company. I remember writing a check for the last installment, for the last check, for the $36,000, and Levi and I just looked at each other and we're like, I cannot believe that this moment is happening right now. So the next year goes by. Same thing, Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Raskin and Levi come to my office and they pledge me. I think they pledged me for 54,000 or 52, whatever it was. And it was still tight. It was still tight. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't rolling in it at this point. It was still very, very tight. But I decided, okay, it worked the first time. And hopefully it will work now. By the way, I just want to mention, if Levi DePartstick is watching this, can you please, or Mrs. Raskin is watching this, can you please come into this room to help me get up that video of the Rebbe that talks about giving tzedakah? Mrs. Raskin, you once sent me a link, so please come into this room to put it on, okay? So, and by the way, even if anybody else from the team is watching this, please let Mrs. Raskin or Levi DePartstick know to come into this room. So I decided, okay, it worked last year, it worked the year before. It's not easy, it's not simple. The Raskins need it. The Chabad coaching, the Chabad house needs it. I mean, this building is a ship. It's a cruise ship. It needs it. I'm going to do it. I committed to the 54. The next year they came. They asked for 72. I said 54 worked last year. Why not do 72 this year? I'm going to do it. Last year, with Hashem's help, they asked me for 100K, and it was, don't get me wrong, it was stressful. But I said every year it worked, so I'm going to give it a shot this year as well. But I needed a little bit more than living on a prayer. You know that song, whoa, living on a prayer. I needed a little bit more than living on a prayer. So I decided to start digging with Rabbi Levi DePartstick. Could you shut off the volume on the phone, Mrs. Raskin? Thank you. I decided to start working with Rabbi Levi DePartstick to start learning, actually, where is it found in Torah that you could do this? Because from my perspective, it seemed like irresponsible. I was giving money that I didn't have. I was pledging money that I didn't have. And we started uncovering all kinds of sources. I mean, you cannot imagine, I'm just going to read you some sources. You cannot imagine how rich Judaism is when it's talking about tzedakah. It's something that people that don't really talk about so much. I guess maybe because money is like a dirty thing to talk about, and there's all kinds of pride and ego and all these kinds associated with it, and people don't like to talk about it so much. But there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of sources and books that talk about this. So I do everything according to my life. I try to do everything according to my life. Whatever the Torah says. The Torah tells me don't drive on Shabbos, I don't drive on Shabbos. The Torah tells me to eat kosher, I eat kosher. So the same Torah that tells us to not drive on Shabbos is the same Torah that tells us talks to us about tzedakah. So I wanted to know, what does it say? Because all I had was my experience. I knew that when I gave, I always got. It was not even that for sure I knew, but I felt that $100,000, it was irresponsible of me at that point to pledge that. And I want to see what the Torah says. So I'm going to share with you guys a few sources. So the famous one, which is in the Chumash, says, Aser tis aser es kol tivwas zarecha. So the thing that we're going to focus on here is Aser tis aser, which the Gemara says in Tainus. 1 second, I have my lovely assistant over here, Rabbi Levin the part stick. It's going to help us. You're going to get us the link over here. So who do I go to? You sent it over here. If you actually just send it to me, if you actually just send me the link, you're going to put it up for me? Okay, you're watching, yeah? Okay, but you have to make sure that the volume, you know how to put on the volume? Yeah, okay, good. So here's a few sources. Aser tes aser, which it says in Gemara, Tainus, page 9, Aleph, it says, Aser bishvil tes aser. When a person gives tithes, it is in order to become rich. The Torah tells you when you give money, you will become rich. So that's a source for everybody that only trusts the Chumash. There you have it in Chumash. It tells you right there, black and white. I'm going to tell you another one. This one's really powerful. And this is the famous one that everybody talks about. Heviu es kol hamaser el beisa oitzer vehi terech bebeisi uvchanuni na bezos amar Hashem tzevaos. Im lo eftach lachem es arbaos hashamayim v'hirkosi lachem bracha ad bli dai. Which means, everybody know the song? Ad bli dai, ad bli dai, ad bli dai, ad bli dai, 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 dai. You ever hear that song? I'm going to tell you what it means in English. Hashem says, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, the secret to wealth. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to go to college. I'm going to give it to you right here, right now. You don't have to read a book. You don't have to do anything. Your friend Berel Solomon is going to give it to you right here, right now. You guys ready? Bring the full tithes into my storehouses. Hashem says, bring a tithe means that you take 10% off of your earnings. Bring 10% of your earnings into my storehouse. And Hashem says, test me with this. He doesn't say he doesn't say you could test me with this. He says, test me in giving tzedakah. And I will surely open up the floodgates of the sky for you and pour down blessings upon you until you say, until when? It's too much. Hashem tells you, if you give tzedakah, that Hashem will give you until the point where you say it's too much. So I started learning all of these sources. And it started becoming clear to me that this was not just like coincidences, what I was seeing, but this is a real thing. Tzedakah was like my secret weapon. It was my rocket fuel in order to do well in business. So I ended up pledging the $100,000, and I gave post-dated checks because, your evil inclination gets in the way. I got to tell you something. When you pledge, just because you pledge doesn't mean it goes. So every month, if they have to ask you for it and you have to schlep it out, it's very difficult. So I said, you know what? I want to get my Yetzer Hara. I want to get my evil inclination out of the way. I'm going to give post-dated checks. And here you go. I signed them all. Zyga bench. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to know from it. So I ended up writing those checks. And I could tell you that last year, with Hashem's help, not only did I merit to do the 100,000, but I did it besimcha. I did it gladly. And not only that, last year was one of the first years that I ever had anything left over at the end of the year. It doesn't make sense that it was the year that I gave the most tzedakah, and it was also the year that I had the most left over at the end of the year. It doesn't even make sense. How could it be? There's a guy that I'll tell you why. There's a guy that I know, and every year he gives around $10,000 to charity. $10,000 is a lot of money. He's on salary, okay? He's not a rich guy. I don't know exactly what his salary is, but he gives $10,000 a year. It's a lot of money for anybody. And I asked him if he could come speak to my community and he could inspire the community so that they should be able to give more. And I said to you, and he said, Berel, I have to be honest with you, I really don't see brachas from the $10,000 that I give. And this really threw me off. It really did, because if anybody knows me, you know that I push people to give charity. I don't even care where you give it. I just want people to give it. It happens to be people's financial wealth is very important to me. It's like a weird thing that I have. I can't explain it to you. Some people care about people's mental health. Some people care about people's physical health. I care about people's financial well-being. It's like a weird thing that I have inside of me. I can't explain to you where it came from. I don't know where it comes from, but I care. So it really shook me to my core that this guy who I currently have so much respect for him, that he schleps $10,000 a year to tzedakah. And how could it be that he doesn't see the bracha from it? How could it be that he's struggling financially? And it hit me. It hit me to my core. And I went back home and I thought about it and I slept on it. And I woke up the next morning and I had the answer. The reason why he struggles is because he doesn't give enough. Because he only gives $10,000 a year, Hashem only has to give him $50,000 a year. I'm going to show you a video from the Rebbe in a few minutes. Hang on, leaving the part stick. Don't do it yet. I'm going to show you a video from the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, coming up very shortly. He says that Hashem has to give you, every one that you give, Hashem has to give you 5. So if the guy is only giving $10,000 a year, it means Hashem only has to give him $50,000 a year. So it's not that he doesn't see the bracha, it's that he's not giving enough. Hear what's going on here? So people think that they cannot give because they do not have, but it's actually the exact opposite. People do not have because they do not give. So you might be saying to yourself, very nice, Berel Solomon, you have a rich father, a physical rich father, a rich father in heaven. It's very nice for you to say. It's very nice for you. You're a businessman. Very easy for you to say. But what about the average person that may not have reserves, may not have a kli, may not have a way? What am I supposed to do about it? And the answer is, the success is in the pledge. The blessing comes from the pledge itself. That is the vehicle where the blessings come from. So at this point, I would like Rabbi Levi in the part stick to please cue the video. And please send me a message, somebody, to let me know that it's playing. So you're going to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe's take on this. Let's go.
Nicht verbunden mit Zeichel, a viele nicht mit nicht was leib, nur gibt das gleich nicht was jot, und mit dieses war gewollt.
מי שהיה אצל הרבי בשבת בראשית זוכר שקונים את המפטיר ואת היין ואת הלחם להתוודויות של הרבי. אני בן אדם שלא היו לי משפיעים ולא למדתי בלובביץ'. אז עמדתי כמו חמור שמה, ושמעתי שנותנים כסף, אז אמרתי גם כן, אני רוצה לתת $1,000 בנוכחות כולם. ולא אמרתי מדמה, לא ידעתי. והרב התחיל לצחוק, פנה אליי עם הפנים הקדושות שלו, ואמר, פנח וילך נשת, פנח וילך פנף טוויסט. ואני אמרתי ישר לרבי, אני נותן את זה. אז הרבי פנה אליי בנוכחות כולם, ואמר לי, ירגיתס בשמחו רבו וטוב לבו. אז אמרתי שאני נותן את זה בשמחה רבה וטוב לבב. והרבי אמר, אוי בזוי, die בכך אבטוח וגבורה, אז בריורן der Zeit und ich können geben כיף וכפליים. אז ליוויתי ישר בבנק $5,000 שלחתי,
Und wie der Rebbe der Nossi hat gesagt, dass Jede Machlit geben auf tzedakah als Schum, was in Gashmis in der Tor bei ist meist kein Pesach mehr helfen. Also können geben dem Schum, geöffnet ihm der Rebbe Ruf a Ziner Chodesh. Also soll können mit keinem sein Achlatos Atebe bimilua und tun das mit der Simcha vetuv levo, wo der Funde verstandig am Egitem kam pom im Kocher, כדי soll können weggeben dem Schum besimcha auf tuv levo.
Unmute.
That video, there happens to be a longer version of that video, but that video changed my life forever. And as I started learning and studying more about this last year, Rosh Hashanah time, with Hashem's help, and I'm going to tell you, you might hate me for telling you this, but I'm going to tell you anyways. I pledged $250,000 to tzedakah. It was a major jump. Every year I had gone up 10, 15,000. And if you asked me at Rosh Hashanah how I was going to fulfill that pledge, I would have told you it's not my problem. It's not my problem. It's up to Hashem. So I did what I do every year. I've written post-dated checks, and I can tell you, thank God, that all the checks are clearing every month, miraculously. Now I want to give you guys a few caveats, okay? Because at the end of the day, we live in a physical world that has physical laws, and Hashem does not like to break his laws of nature. So how does this apply to the 51 beautiful people that are watching this right now? It applies like this. So if you saw that the part of the video that you didn't see, which I'm going to share with you, is the Rebbe says a person should not be reckless. In other words, if a person's earning $50,000 a year right now, that person should not go and pledge $1 million. Okay, that would be reckless. So that's one. The Rebbe says, don't be reckless. But if you saw in the movie, in the video, he said a person should pledge more than they're comfortable with. And the Rebbe says when a person pledges more than he's comfortable with, Hashem opens up new channels. By the way, if a person's retired and they have no possibility of making a living whatsoever, and they're actually consciously saying, I will not work and I will not try, then you should also not pledge. This is only for people who are willing to actually put in the effort. But the effort becomes multiplied with rocket fuel because the one above ends up having to help you make your pledge and make your donation. I've pledged probably close to $1 million from people that I know, friends, acquaintances, people in shul, whoever it is that I know. I've seen guys pledge $18,000 in their first go, and it worked. Guys pledge $1,800, $36,000. I called the guy on the phone the other day. I said, I want you to pledge $36,000 to Chabad of Kotzi and Loop. We're running our charity campaign right now. I want you to pledge $36,000. He said, Berel, I'll call you tomorrow. Usually when somebody tells me they're going to call me tomorrow, that's code for I'll call you in sometime early, never. He called me the next day at 5:10 p.m. The phone rang. He says, Berel Solomon, I want to tell you something. I got a phone call today. I made a commission it fell out of Shemayim, fell out of heaven. I had nothing to do with it. The person called me. I don't even know where they got my number. I don't know how they found me, but the commission check that I made today was $36,000. Where do you want the check written to, sir? That's just one small story. I have simple guys at the shul, young guys, 22, 26, 28 years old that are taking pledges for $18,000. And they're doing it and they're fulfilling it and they're seeing the blessings from it. And it's an incredible thing. So what does this mean to you and me? What does this mean to us right now on Monday evening, one day before the campaign at Chabad of Kotzin Luk is over. This year, we're going for $1 million with Hashem's help. It's an auspicious goal. It's an ambitious goal, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So if you're watching this, I want to tell you that you have a big opportunity to make a pledge, something that you're not accustomed to doing, something that goes slightly beyond your, not slightly, more than slightly, beyond your comfort zone. And test Hashem with this. Test God. God tells you, test me with this. Not you should or you could. Test me with this. It's a secret worth knowing at this stage of your game. If you're young, well, then you better, if you find out that this actually works, then you have the secret for the rest of your life. If you're old, then you have the secret until the end of time. And wherever you're holding on your spectrum in your life, in your game, you have the secret. And by the way, if it doesn't work, then also figure it out now. Because if it doesn't work, then never give again. Because I don't know about you guys, but if this is not true, then it's all not true. Some things can't be true and some things are true. It doesn't work like that. Torah is emes. Torah is true. If Shabbos is true, if kosher is true, if tefillin are true, then what Hashem says about tzedakah must be true. So here's what I would like to ask. Here's what I would like to ask. I would like to ask you watching this right now, and I see all of your names here, so you can't run. I would like you to either pick up the phone and call any one of the team members here of Chabad of Kotzin Luk, whether it's Rabbi Raskin, Mrs. Raskin, Levi Raskin, the part stick, Levi the part stick, Tzemach, myself, Solange, the office, whatever it is, or go on nowevenmore.com. And I want you to push yourself beyond what you're comfortable with. If in the past you gave $180, this year give $1,800. You will not suffer. You will only get blessings from it. And if you don't, call me on the phone and we'll talk about it, how to make you whole, okay? Because I believe in it that much. I'm standing up for the Eibishter. I'm standing up for Hashem. I'm standing up for the Rebbe because I believe in it, because I've done it. And I'm not asking you to do anything. And by the way, we're going to hit our goal with or without you. But why not join? Why not test Hashem with this? Test the thing that he tells us to do. So I'm asking, I'm pleading, I'm imploring for you right now to go on our website, Now Even More. Is that what it is? Nowevenmore.com. And if you're used to giving $1,800, go for $7,700. And if you're used to giving $7,700, go for $18,000. And you might say to yourself, who am I to do that? I'm a pisher. I'm a little guy. I'm a little person. I'm telling you, it's not true. The way to become big, the shortcut, the hack, the cheat is to give tzedakah. We're Jews. We don't live according to nature. We're bigger than nature. We're above nature. We're more powerful than nature. And if you say to yourself, well, I haven't seen the bracha from the tzedakah that I gave. I gave $180 last year, and I don't see the bracha from it. I'm telling you, it's because you didn't give enough. You have to make big, you want big movement in Shemayim, you have to make big movement in the Aretz down here. And you don't have to give it all in one shot. You could pledge it over the next 12 months. And just to break it down to show you how bite-sized $18,000 is, it's $1,500 a month. And if you're asking yourself, you're saying to yourself, I don't have $1,500 a month right now. By the way, it should be within reason. If your current salary or income is $0, then do not give $18,000. Okay, I'm telling you right now, don't do it. But if you're earning $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, give 18 G's, because it's going to push you up to the 100. It's going to push you up to the 120. Hashem will help you fulfill it. Hashem will open up new tzinoros. He'll open up new channels of blessings and success for every single person that does this. I've seen in my life every single time. And I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of guys in this very building accomplish it. Nowevenmore.com. Or, by the way, I just want to give a little bit of good news here. As we're talking, I just got a message from Levin the Part Stick. as we're talking, $10,000. Wow, that's amazing. $10,000 just came in. It's amazing. $1,000 just came in, and $1,250 just came in. And all of these people, by the way, why do I have the chutzpah to ask? Because I know what it's going to do for you. I know what it's going to bring to the person. I was in Panama a few weeks ago, and I remember I got up at a synagogue at a shliach synagogue. It was a very small shul in the middle of nowhere. We were probably the first visitors. We were like 20 guys that showed up at his Chabad house for that weekend. We're the first visitors he's had in months. And I got up and I made an appeal to the crowd, and I said, guys, we got to support the shul. We're the only people that are here. And one of the people that was there, he said to me, you know what? These people don't have any money. Don't ask them. You're going to embarrass them. How could you ask them for money they don't have? I know these people personally. And I said to him, the more a person needs money, the more they should be giving tzedakah. The more that they give, the more that they're going to get. Not only do I not feel guilty, but I actually feel great because I know that if and when they give, they will become successful. We ended up raising a whole bunch of money for this beautiful Chabad house in the middle of nowhere. So again, nowevenmore.com. Please feel free to reach out to myself, to any of the Raskins, to any of the staff that work at Chabad. Nowevenmore.com. Now is your time. Test Hashem. If it all works, let's figure it out now. I want to bring in people who might have some questions. So if you have a question, please, Yaakov, is it okay if I bring you in? I see you asked the question over here. Can I unmute you? Could you make me, Levin Departsa, can you please make me an administrator so I could bring people in that have questions? Yaakov, I'm going to bring you in. All right. How do I do this? Okay. Ask to unmute. All right. Yaakov, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, good. What's going on, Berel?
Could you come on by video, please?
I'm driving. It'll be dark.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. We want to see your beautiful face. Guys, please ask your questions. I'm gonna take questions.
So I just started to daven at your shul, as you know.
Yes.
And
our shul.
There you go. And it's fantastic morning minyan there. I was just curious a little bit about what this charity is about. I know that there's the shul and people have is it a regular shul that people pray and they pay a membership and then they rent out the hall, or is there other things that Chabad is doing that require these funds?
Good question. So yes, to be a member officially is $770. The what's it called? The membership of the shul is really a token. The budget here is over $2 million a year. And it might sound like a lot, but when you consider—
I'm going to correct you, Berel. It's almost 3 million.
Almost 3 million. Thank you. When you consider that this shul, first of all, I don't know if you saw the size of this building. It's a monster. Okay. And people in the beginning, when they first built this building, they said it was too big. Everybody said it's too big. Nobody asked the Raskins to build such a big shul. Today, they say the shul is too small because we're busting at the seams. There's so many activities that go on here. So when a person supports the shul, you're supporting the activities that are going on. Really, in my humble opinion, this is one of the centers of world Jewry in Canada. Montreal is one of the biggest Jewish populations in Canada. And this is, in my humble opinion, one of the main centers of outreach to world Jewry. Tens of thousands of people get matzah every year. Tens of thousands of people get mishloach manot. Tens of thousands of people get fruits for Tu B'Shvat. Tens of thousands of people are touched by this very building every day. When I was growing up, I'll never forget this. When I was becoming religious, my parents asked me, why do you have to be Chabad? Can't you be like a nice conservative boy, a nice modern Orthodox boy? I just don't understand why you have to be Chabad. And it was Hanukkah time, and there was we lived in Hampstead at the time, and there was a menorah in my house. And as they were talking to me, I glanced at the menorah that had just been dropped off in my house by strangers. And I went over to the front door and I bent down and I picked it up and I walked back into the kitchen. I said, Mom, Dad, this is why I'm Chabad. because Chabad cares. They drop the Chabad of Côte St. Luke. Don't ask me why they dropped it off in Hampstead, but Chabad of Côte St. Luke had just at that moment dropped off a menorah. And I said, this is why I'm Chabad, because Chabad cares. Chabad of Côte St. Luke specifically, this is the shul that I'm part of. They care about, they have 30,000 Jews in the backyard. It's unbelievable shlichus. So to answer the question, no, it's not just the membership. This shul supports World Montreal Jewry to ensure that it will survive going forward forever. Great question, Yaakov. Who else has a question? Who else has a question? I had fun here, guys. I hope you guys had fun here too. Who wants to come on? I would love to hear your thoughts, guys. Please put in the comments if you would like to come in and you would like to comment, or if you personally have seen miracles. I would absolutely love to hear. Please put in the comment so that I can see. Here we go. Binyamin Bobot says, if we want to pledge but need a payment arrangement, how do we proceed? Great question, Binyamin. You could reach out to me. You could reach out to any of the Raskins, Levi, Naparsik, or Tzemach, or Shalom Bear, or whoever it is, or Solange. Or we're going to, you know what, Binyamin, we're going to find you. We know where to find you, buddy. And yes, so the concept of a pledge, when you're giving more than you're comfortable with, the whole concept is you're giving more than you're comfortable with. So the whole concept is actually to pay it out over time. Tzemach Goslin, I'm going to bring you in 1 second. So Binyamin, I hope that answers your question. Yes, you could pay it out over 12 months. You could pay it out over 48 months. Who cares? We had a guy here who donated $100,000. He's going to pay it out over 4 years. So yes, we encourage payment plans because that means that you're stretching yourself. Okay, let's go. Tzemach Goslin, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Can I bring you in through video?
Sure, go for it.
Let's do it.
Hi everyone. So I just want to say that when I heard you Berel pledge at the beginning of the year, that $250,000, I also pledged to give tzedakah. Nothing crazy enough for me. And
it didn't start at $250,000. It started with $500.
So I'm saying for this year, so you inspired me to go out of my comfort zone to give. And I don't know if you guys know, I'm a student. I don't really I work here and there as side jobs, and but I could say that I'm already halfway done giving the pledge that I
beautiful.
And I know that Hashem just gives. So do it, start giving. Hashem is going to give you so much. And I just sometimes wake up and I just see that I received money from the government. Baruch Hashem. It's great.
I'm so proud of you. So, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you see the brachas from the tzedakah that you pledged.
I see it.
When you pledged it, were you a little nervous?
I was super nervous.
Wow. And you went a little bit. You went above what you felt comfortable with.
Yeah. I went above. I went above. Baruch Hashem.
Sound like you're a rock star. And I want to just tell you guys, obviously when we launched this campaign, we went to the heavy hitters in the city and we went to the big machers in town. And it's not so simple. It's not so simple to schlep money out of rich people. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. And we noticed that we were getting like these crazy pledges from these young guys like Tzemach. And these were easier to get, training guys and bringing brachas into their lives. And you cannot imagine the grassroots movement that we've seen. Okay, a few more. Sterna Suiza, hey from near and Sterna watching, you guys are awesome. Hello in Mexico, ¿cómo estás, mi amigos? Okay, next, iPhone. I don't know who you are, but you had a question. Hi, Berel, what are the rules of tzedakah 10% or 20%? Look, I'm not a rabbi. I just play one on Zoom. So I don't know. You're going to have to ask your local Orthodox rabbi what those rules are. So here's the main problem, okay? Wow, I wish I shared this sooner, but you guys ready? You guys ready? You guys are ready for this? I'm going to give you a major secret. Here's the problem with the way that people usually look at Meiser. Meiser means that officially you're supposed to give 10%, and officially the halacha is you're not supposed to give more than 20% of your earnings. Here's the issue, okay? Here's the issue. If a person, oh my gosh, wow, we have a lot of donations that have come through. Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. Wow. Hang on. I've got to read this. Woo! Hang on. Beautiful. How much? I won't say your name. Won't say your name. Guys, please text either me, Mrs. Raskin, Rabbi Raskin, whoever it is you know at this place. How much? I won't say the name. Okay, beautiful. I just had a guy who said he wants to make a big pledge. Thank you very much. He's going to be rich. I'm so happy. I want to be his friend. So here's the issue, guys, with tzedakah, okay? Here's the major issue, is that people think that the way tzedakah works is that you're supposed to give 10% of your earnings. Here's the problem. If a person of normal, regular Jewish family, their household income is $100,000. If you live in, wow, yes, somebody just pledged $6,000. Kol kavod, amazing, you're amazing. Hang on, I'm not going to say the name, but just to show you what's going on here, $6,000. Don't say the name. Bang! The guy's going to be rich. The guy's going to at least get 36,000 bucks from it. So it's a magical thing. You're going to see this guy will give I want him to give the speech next year. Here's the problem with the way that people usually give charity. If a normal person earns $100,000, that's the household income, which is a very nice, healthy income. By the time you're done with taxes, you're down to $60,000 or $70,000. By the time you've paid your rent or your mortgage, you're now down to $40,000. And by the time you go to IGA or Whole Foods or Farmer Pre or Walgreens, whatever it is, and we're not even talking about paying tuition. I'm not even talking about going on vacation. I'm not talking about living a fancy life. You want to get a maid for one day a week, whatever it is. At the end of the year, you have $0 left, if not a $10,000 Visa credit card bill. So how is that person supposed to come up with $10,000 for Meiser, for tzedakah? He cannot, or she cannot. There's no money left over. And that's the big problem. That's the big problem with people giving tzedakah, is that there's nothing left at the end of the day. So here came the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's not just him, by the way. There's other sources. There's plenty of other sources, but I feel that he really highlighted this. He flipped the whole thing on its head. And he said, instead of giving Meiser based on what you already made, make a pledge based on how much you would like to make. Don't look backwards when it comes to tzedakah. Look forwards when it comes to tzedakah. That's the big chiddush. That's the big new thing. His revolution. He revolutionized the way people look at this. And that's why I tell you, last year when I did $100,000 pledge to tzedakah, I had more left over that year than I ever had. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You should have less. I had more. Why? Because I finally gave enough. So Hashem was forced to give me 5 times my pledge. You understand what's going on here? He was forced to, because at 20%, you're not allowed to give more than 20% halachically. You're not allowed to. The Alter Rebbe says that you can. In Tanya, he says that you can. Why? Because just like a person is willing to give every penny if he's on his deathbed, he'll give, if he has $1 billion, he's willing to give $1 billion to live one more day to save his life. So too, a person should give more than 20% in order to save his soul. But Hashem doesn't like to mess with his own halacha. Hashem keeps halacha. So he will, if you make your pledge, he will adjust it that it cannot and will not go over your 20%. Again, you should speak to your local Orthodox rabbi about this, guys. I just play a local Orthodox rabbi on Zoom. I'm a regular guy just like you. Speak to your local Orthodox rabbi. Okay, next, Frederick Carrier. Is tzedakah also volunteering? Are taxes included in that ratio? In God we trust. Frederick, great question. Tzedakah is volunteering is a beautiful thing. Beautiful. And I strongly suggest that every person does it. But in this particular case, I'm talking about cold, hard cash. I'm talking about the real deal. Money, money, money. I don't know what the school is. I don't know what happens when a person volunteers. I'm sure there's great things that happen. The Torah says if you volunteer, this will happen. I'm telling you what the Torah says when you give cold, hard cash, what will happen to that cash. Guys, I'm going to take one more question before we end because we're almost over time. Please write your comment in the comment section. or you could raise your hand. But so far, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing phenomenal, and we're going to hit our goal. We're going to hit our goal of $1 million. And every guy and every girl that pledged above what it is that they were comfortable with, you're going to see crazy miracles. Guys, please pick up the phone. Please call me or anybody that works here, or go on now more than ever. Is that it? Is that what it is? What is it? Levi, what's the thing? You would think I know. Nowevenmore.com. Nowevenmore.com. Test it and then call me as soon as you see the miracle. By the way, you guys have to have your eyes open for the miracles. That's another thing. Before we end here, I just want to give you this one last thing. A guy here in Shul, I asked him for 3,600. He ended up doing $1,000. It's big. $1,000 is a lot of money. Okay. He ended up pledging $1,000. So I took his credit card right then and there. Bang! I love doing that, by the way. It's one of my favorite activities. And hi, Levi, come say hello to the people. Come. And I asked him the next day in shul, I said, did you see brachas from your tzedakah? Here's my partner in Hasidic crime. Rabbi Levi Raskin, ladies and gentlemen. And I asked him the next day in shul, I said, did you see any brachas from your tzedakah? He says, nah, not really. Maybe somewhere in Shemayim. I didn't see. He says, oh, wait a minute. I won a major court case yesterday, one that I wasn't supposed to win. And the judge ruled in my favor. The brachas are real. You have to have the eyes for them. Guys, as soon as you pledge, please open your eyes. It doesn't take long, by the way. Your bracha is not going to come in 8 months or 9 months or 10 months. Your bracha is going to come right away. Hashem asks you to test him. The only place in the Torah is here. Rabbi, could you give us some closing words or opening words?
Tzedakah is from the biggest mitzvot in the Torah. Gedola tzedakah shemekarevet et hagula. Tzedakah is the greatest mitzvah that will bring the geula. The greatest mitzvah that we can do to bring the geula is the mitzvah of tzedakah. And when we give tzedakah and we have in mind this gemara of gedola tzedakah shemekarevet et hagula, we're doing two things in the same time. We're doing the greatest mitzvah that brings Mashiach the closest, and we're learning a passage from the Talmud which brings Mashiach the closest. That's why we see so many in the later years of the Rebbe, from 1986 to 1992. Every Sunday the Rebbe stood and gave dollars and made people shluchim, messengers, to go give $1 for him in tzedakah, because the Rebbe felt tzedakah is the greatest mitzvah that we can do today.
Wow. So what was going through your mind that year? I never even asked you this. I'm actually curious. When you came into my office, it was a shtickle chutzpah. No. You know, it's Jewish chutzpah, holy chutzpah. But I mean, you weren't so well versed in these shitas of the Rebbe, what he would say about this. So what gave you the guts? And by the way, I'll tell you right now, Rabbi Levi Raskin and his father, I told him this the other day. I feel that obviously with God's help, they are the reasons why my business did well that year and the other years that I pledged. I took a shortcut. I'm telling you guys right now, it was a major shortcut. So what gave you weren't so we didn't kach in this. What do you say kach? We didn't.
I knew that this is the Rebbe's vision is to go and jump much more than you're able to do. And I came to you. I told you that you're a chassid of the Rebbe, and this is the Rebbe's way to do it. The Rebbe's way to do it is to jump in and do a lot more than you could. Mm-hmm. And we're counting on you, and we need your support. And so that gave us the vision to be able to ask for such a thing.
Mm-hmm. So you took the general principle that Chabad in general likes to increase, or you knew the specific about tzedakah?
We're not specific about tzedakah.
Wow. And have you seen people make these pledges besides myself? Are there guys that you have seen that you guys have pledged that have?
All the time, or people that we pledged, or people that even gave on their own. They weren't able to give the amount that they pledged to give, and wrote post-dated checks, and all of a sudden not long after, they contacted us and told us that they had an incredible miracle from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they were able to pay it up.
Reminds me of one last story before we go. One last story. Shmarona hit.
People don't know what it means.
The pandemic hit. Corona hit in 2019. Yeah, COVID-19. It's crazy. It's COVID-20. Now it's COVID-22. But COVID-19 hit, and I remember that it was Pesach time. Who remembers that Pesach? It was scary. It was very scary. It was hard to get meat. I remember it was very difficult. And my whole business had gone to heck in a handbasket. Okay, it was in not a good place, and all my contracts were canceled, and I owed money to contractors, and it was a complete mess. I had 30,000 in my bank, and I owed 50,000, and I owed 50,000 to contractors because I had so many contracts that were canceled. It was a nightmare. I mean, probably a lot of people experience that watching this now. But I remember that it was a very hard time for everybody. And one of the first things that people shut off when times are not good is they shut off their charitable donations. And I donated $4,000 to Chabad, so that each family should have $1,000, so they should be able to make at least one Pesach Seder. $1,000 on Pesach doesn't get you far. And it hurt. It hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. It was a very scary time. From that $4,000, I ended up becoming one of the largest mask distributors in Canada at the very beginning of the pandemic. I posted online that I was selling masks. Shalom Bear, who runs the shul here, he said, I saw your post. The person that sells us cleaning supplies in the building, he's looking for masks. So Shalom Bear set me up with this guy. The guy ended up buying 5-10 million masks from me over the course of 3-4 months. And it's funny because I gave here, and my Hashem made the bracha come from the place that I gave to. And it's just brachas. So anyways, L'chaim, the website again, did you have something you want to say? The website again is nowevenmore.com. Please reach out to it. Please go on it. By the way, don't let time get in your way. Go make your thing, whether it's 1,800 or whether it's 18,000 or somewhere in between, or 36 or 100. Go do it and go test Hashem with this.
Hashem says, please test me with the mitzvah of tzedakah.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Berel. Thank you.